From the Aishin Broadcast Studio, it's the Executive Spotlight.
Welcome to the AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest is Jeff Stearns from CarChat24. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, we're happy to have you here today. Let's dive right in.
Okay.
Does every dealership need chat, and why do they need it? What function does it serve?
I started out as a client of CarChat24 before I joined the company 13 years ago. Mm-hmm. So you're never going to not convince me that every dealer needs chat. I think some dealers see it as like a checkbox item or even an expense item, but here's why. From a case study standpoint, and we've done hundreds of them, we found that from a selling cars standpoint, that a dealer can lift deals sourced to their website 40 to 60% with the right chat on there. And what I mean is contact form leads or email leads won't go down, phone calls won't go down, and a 40 to 60% increase in leads sourced to chat.
Wow.
We think that, or we believe that that has something to do with should you have a phone or not? Because some people are only going to communicate that way. And just because you're not into phones, you wouldn't not have a phone.
Yeah. Well, let me make sure I understand that right. So what you're saying is by adding chat, you're not cannibalizing any of the form fill leads. You're not cannibalizing any of the phone up leads. Those are staying the same. You're just finding 40 to 60% more deals from your website from people that must have just been leaving without contacting you? I mean, is that what that means?
Let's face it. A good dealership website is not getting anything from 94, 95% of the traffic that comes and goes, the visitors on their site. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. They might get 5% forms and phone calls combined, and that's a good site.
Yeah.
So we're saying hello. We're greeting the 95% that's giving you nothing.
Gotcha. So, so dealers need chat. And
yes,
I know that some might try to do it themselves. Most of them are probably not trying to have 24-hour employees that can be responding to customers. If a dealer is looking for a chat provider, like what are some of the important things they need to consider?
The first thing I'd like you to think about is that a lot of dealerships are answering the chat on their own, and you mentioned this 24-hour employee. I don't want them answering the chat, and it's not because that they shouldn't work 24 hours. It reminds me, you're a little too young to remember this, but there was a sales trainer, and I think he's still around, named Joe Verdi. And a great statement that he made was salespeople sometimes think that qualifying is measuring the difficulty of the customer to decide how much effort to give them. So when you think about your phone ups, when there's internal dealership staff answering a chat and the customer's talking about an unrealistic discount that another dealer talked about, and can you beat it?
Yeah.
Or wanting too much for their trade in, or I think I have a ton of negative equity in my trade, or I have tough credit, or I have no money down, or the mother of all problems, I want to come in 20 minutes before your shift's going to end.
Oh, yeah.
The people inside the dealership, depending on their role and depending on their training, sometimes start folding when the customer gets a little difficult. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Our average operator's been with us 8 years, and they're a little bit like a glacier migrating, meaning they're going slow, they're taking their path, you're not going to slow them down. But their goal is to be friendly, to be courteous, provide basic information like a receptionist, not know much, not lose anyone, not offend anyone, and end up with their info. So there's somebody in your CRM for your staff to get a hold of.
Gotcha. So they're not trying to sell a car, and they're trying to capture some information so that when your people who do sell cars come to work, they have somebody to call. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. And
further, we can even put the dealership staff on a phone call with a customer right now when we get their phone number.
Really? So if I'm shopping dealership's website, I chat my phone number, then your person would connect me directly to somebody at the dealership?
Yes, they might say, do you have a black 2019 whatever?
Yep.
And the operator says, I'm the online receptionist, can I have the appropriate person check, put hands on it, get back to you Sure, have someone call me, here's my phone number. Now we're ringing the dealership's extensions or mobile phones or whatever, and whoever's available can touch one when they hear a robot voice tell them what it is and who it is and what it's about, and it'll ring the guest into a conference call right now.
Oh, wow. So it's quick. Like it's not 5 minutes later when somebody checks their email, you call the guy back and his lunch break's over. It's, you want to talk to a person in sales, you direct connect them, and it's a minute.
It takes response time to under a minute. And dealers before and after this feature tell us that they talk to double, sometimes triple the customers versus leaving 1 million messages unreturned.
Wow. Well, yeah, I guess that does, that does make a lot of sense, because if you're able to direct connect to him, you don't have to worry about him answering his phone and not knowing your number and all the other pitfalls that come when you try to call somebody back.
Right, and because we have their phone number and you have their phone number, and they are being rung right now.
Okay.
It's just a matter of when. So what's interesting is they're chatting now, they're in market now, and you could be on the phone with them before they're on your competitor's website.
Interesting. Well, when dealers are looking for a chat provider to help them with this, I've heard that that a lot of it is done outsourced. Is there a pitfall to using an outsourced chat provider?
I would have great difficulty having outsourced staff or BPO, business process outsource. The reason is, as a 28-year retail guy and a 26-year manager in dealerships, I want to be hands-on. I want to coach. I want to have a coaching moment. I want to have an opportunity to develop someone. When it's an outsource, and I'm not saying an outsourced person can't be a quality person. I'm not saying they don't have a family to feed. I'm not saying they don't deserve to work.
Yeah.
I'm saying that when we screw up a chat, and we do screw up chats, and the dealer says, hey, that chat was a little weak, here's why, we can go sit down with that operator, look at a couple of weeks worth of their chats, see if there's a pattern or a one-time mess up, and have a sit down with them and develop them.
Now, you had mentioned that your people are like glaciers and they've been with you a long time. You do enjoy tremendous tenure amongst your employees. How have you been able to do that? And what does that actually mean to the final product that you deliver to dealerships?
It's a little bit the opposite of a dealership when it comes to tenure. What I mean is, in a dealership, my newest people did whatever I told them to do.
Yep.
My newest people did what they were supposed to do in the CRM, etc. And the longer and longer the tenure got, the less manageable a lot of staff gets in a dealership, and probably other businesses. With our operators, it's the absolute opposite. Everybody's on what we call a golf score. And the way we rate them is we want them to be number one, for example, in how many chats they took in a month, shows they're working.
Yep.
Number one in a chat converting into a lead, meaning the guest gladly gave their name and contact information. Number one in customer satisfaction that we measure. We measure how many fixed ops chats they take, because a pay plan is a job description, as you know. And we do give a little bonus for getting more sales leads. So we had a lot of operators cherry-picking sales-related conversations and not wanting to take a service chat. And I hope you'll ask me about service a little bit. How many seconds to answer? There's a number of things that we're measuring. We find that my longest tenure operators, by the way, I have 3 shifts of operators, and I have at least one per shift that's been with us the entire 16 years.
Oh, wow.
They're now in a supervisor role, but our average operator's been with us 8 years, and it's just proven in our statistics that the longer the operator's with us, the better they score on each of those categories.
I do want to ask you about service, because I hadn't thought about chat for service. That has to be a challenge. There's the questions for sales are, do you have it when you open? There might be 100 possible questions, but in service, it's infinite. It's every vehicle, every problem, what does the normal service chat look like?
You're going to find this hard to believe.
Yeah.
Because you've never heard this from a dealership phone receptionist, but there's an awful lot of chats about nobody's called me back about the status on my vehicle.
I believe it.
Yeah. No phone operator in a dealership's ever heard that. So one of the things that we do, Brian, is that when we have a chat that's a little bit of a heater, a little bit of an upset customer, we send that in on the side to whatever emails we have in the dealership, like, I've left 5 messages, no one's called me back. Somebody said they were going to call me back and hasn't. This phone number isn't working, it just rings. And then we know to ask what phone number is it so we can send it back to the dealership. Okay. So it's a service status thing, just like receptionist is number one. There's an awful lot of staff name chats. What's the service manager's name? This sort of thing. What are your hours? And then if we're connected to the dealership scheduling tool, there's a lot of, I'm not going to be able to make my appointment, or can I change my appointment? And then we also do an awful lot of helping them make their service booking, because we'll put them on the service appointment page. And here's what I mean by put them on the service appointment page. You've chatted with your cable company or American Express or whoever. And they'll pass you a link to something. You don't get offended by that, right?
No.
Okay. Well, we're into blowing people away. We're into walking somebody to the parts counter or walking somebody to the restroom, not pointing. So our operators actually change the browser for the guest and say, you should be looking at it now. We know we're not offending them by passing a link, but we're kind of into blowing them away. And our dealers are into that. So when a customer says, I want to make a service appointment, we can either work it with them if we're integrated with their tool, or put them on the page. But often they'll tell us that it's not working. And then we can let them know, great, let me take your name and number, let me convey it, and have someone call you right away.
Interesting. Boy, I don't know that I've ever been on a website where they took me to the browser that way. You know, like when you're chatting, you're right. You always just get a link, you click the link. But I don't think I've ever been on one where they actually drive my browser to the place that I need to go. That would blow me away.
It's my absolute favorite feature. And the reason is when I'm doing performance calls with dealers, and I certainly read chats until I'm cross-eyed every day, the number one reaction piece is when we change the browser for a guest. Can you show me the service appointment page? My salesperson told me to do a credit application online, but I can't find it. Can you show it to me? Do you have a black whatever model? We change the browser for them and take them to what they're asking for. And the reactions are, OMG, you changed my window. How did you do that? I see it. Thank you very much. It's the biggest reaction piece on what we do.
Yeah, I mean, it would get a reaction out of me. It's cool. It's really cool.
Yes.
So I want to ask you about something I've heard you say in the past, guided by science. What do you mean when you say that, and how does it affect the way you guys do chat?
So one of my favorite things that a client does after a demo or after a presentation is they'll say, give me some of your dealership sites that your chat is on now and let me go try it. And I'm being sarcastic when I say it's one of my favorite things, because they'll come back to me and say, I don't see anything different. What's the big difference? Well, here's what they're not able to measure, unless they did say 1,000 test chats or 3,000 test chats. All of our dealers are split between 2 servers. We've been A and B split testing our scripted answers for 16 years now. We've now gotten down to, and I'm going to help some competitors, we've gotten down to hello versus hi, how are you versus whatever, but we've tested hello with and without a period 50,000 rounds to see which one's winning. But we're also testing operator images versus no image, male versus female, stock photos versus videos. So some of our operators show up as a stock photo, some of them show up as a video, and our dealers say, if you're so advanced and you're the only one that has a video image of an operator, which to my knowledge we're the only one doing that, why don't you only use videos? And I say that speaks to our testing, because there's some stock photos still winning.
Interesting. So now is the video a real video of the real person, or is it just like a stock video?
Also a stock video.
A stock video. Gotcha.
So every quarter we see which ones not get more engagement, but get more starts. And here's what I mean. If somebody just says hello and that's it, that's a start. They got started. And engagement, defined by a few OEMs, so we adopted it, is 3 lines of communication by each side. The guest and the operator. They call that an engagement, so we're fine with that. So we find that the operator image greatly impacts the engagement, at least 3 lines each, and it impacts starts. Also, we test operator names. So I have male operators. They just all have female
Names.
stage names or, customer-facing images and names. We test the name, Carly versus Rhonda, for example, on how many customers are willing to give up their name and contact info. Same operator, been with us 8 years, switch her name, and she can go from number 3 to number 15 in position, getting customers' contact info just by changing name.
Wow.
Presented from the Ishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
So do you identify like what the best names are, and then everybody's kind of going by that name, or do you how does that work? Is everybody named Cindy, or is it different by person? Like, is it maybe you as an operator is better with one name, and me as an operator is better with another name? Like, how granular do you get with that? Because it seems like you could go forever.
Well, we get granular, but we don't get it as granular as some dealers ask. They'll ask, well, have you tried it in South Dakota? And they're like, no, we're nationwide and USA and Canada and some parts of the world. We serve the operator images in order. Mm-hmm. So that means every site that gets open with CarChat24 code on it, which happens tens of thousands of times per day, gets the next operator image regardless of which operator it is that's going to take the chat. That way each image gets served an equal number of times.
Okay, so that way you're kind of comparing apples to apples.
At the end of each quarter, rolling quarter, we kick whichever images got the lowest number of starts and the lowest number of engagement. The name sticks with the operator. This way, when we change the name, we can compare it to their skill level.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, and I guess that way every image is getting every name, and every name is getting every image. So you're kind of I understand that.
Yes.
So you are going pretty deep. You are going pretty deep.
Yes. And we also use a proactive greeting, and we measure how many seconds that we should serve a chat window that appears to get more guests to start. Too soon could be too obtrusive. When I started with the company 13 years ago, 20 seconds could seem obtrusive. Now people are looking for chat, so we can go a lot sooner. But we're trying to walk the line, measuring the CSI on how many chats we're starting, how many leads we're getting, and the customer satisfaction rating on that chat.
You mentioned hello or hello with a period, but you didn't say which one is better. Are you using the period after hello or just hello without a period? I'm curious.
We're always testing.
Yeah.
So any of our competitors looking, they might be looking at yesterday's data, so I want to disclose that. But today it's hello without a period.
Interesting.
Yes.
I was just curious. The next email I send you is going to be hello without a period.
But we never stop the A/B testing, and we never stop adding answers. For example, an individual dealer might give us their own answer, like, we're getting a lot of chats about where's the night service drop box, because people are chatting at 11 at night, showing up with the wrecker with their car, and they don't know where to leave the keys. So then we can go to the dealer and say, we're getting a lot of questions about this, and they say, hey, it's around the right side of the building by the Coke machine, and we can create an answer. But there are things that start coming up. I mean, gosh, I'm dating myself. I don't even know if you want to use this, but during Cash for Clunkers, we had to create answers for Cash for Clunkers. That stands out in my mind. During the shortage, there were a lot of, is this available? And dealers wanted us to give different answers than they would in a normal circumstance.
Yeah.
About availability, for example. So we're having to always evolve and always test.
Every conversation in America, it seems these days, has to talk about AI. Every interview I do, I always like to ask the question, because it seems like it's impacting everything. How is it impacting chat, and what do you see coming?
I suppose I could be a buggy whip salesperson eventually, because we use no AI. But let me give you my assessment of the space. We've been testing AI for a couple of years now. And I believe that we have an advantage over competitors, because a lot of competitors are new to the space. And to me, a guy only in it 5 or 6 years is new, but there's also a few that have only been in it months or under a year coming in as AI. But here's the distinction. I can look at our best operators and our best converting and best customer satisfaction operator answers for the past 16 years to decide what to teach the AI. Now, the only reason that we would be interested in AI is if it somehow is better performing or saved us money.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. If I could quit hiring people, right now we have about 150 operators. If we could quit hiring operators or eventually reduce role, but they've been with us an average of 8 years, so we do have some emotional attachment to these people, so that's a tough one. But if it was clear that you could have 0 operators, that would be a hard one to resist, like a dealer. You could have 0 employees, right, and sell just as many cars. Or you could be a lot more effective, then we would start moving that way. But here's what we know so far. When I ask any dealer directly, would you rather have a human being, that's good, or a computer answering your phone? Which would you rather have, cost being equal? I've not heard they'd rather have a computer answering yet from anybody. So that's how we feel a little bit about it at the moment. ChatGTP-driven AI, dealers get enamored with it, and I can imagine on the demos, because I've had a few of my clients share with me a demo that they took on AI, that, oh my God, it could give elaborate answers about packages and what the LT package includes and the history of whatever and what year Chevrolet came, and all of these things that customers are going to love. And just like a well-handled phone up, I'm asking, and did we get the customer's name and number? Did we get somebody's contact info? We all know about Billy, the famous phone up kid that the customers all love that never got a name and number. He was the most informative person in the world, right? And didn't get any contact info. Many people have heard about the ChatGTP-driven AI. I don't need to mention the provider. That a customer who is very skilled at prompting it, because ChatGTP is driven from prompts, got it to commit to selling a car for $1.
Wow.
So now there's a big disclaimer on that chat provider's chat window that the bot cannot be held to pricing. Something like that, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
I have a dealer that left me, a 15-store group, that one of the stores left me a month ago to try a no-cost trial. And when I say no cost, no billing cost, but I don't know how many deals it cost him. With an AI bot, he got enamored, driven by ChatGTP. The corporate person shut it off 5 days into the trial and sent me the chat, because when the customer came in saying, I'm having difficulty getting a warranty claim paid, it gave a typical ChatGTP, pulled it out, very organized, great answer about contact the warranty provider first. Customer says, I did. Contact your dealer. Customer says, I did. I don't know if it was 7, 8, 9 rounds later. The ChatGTP bot suggested that the client retain a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
And sue the dealership.
Oh, my gosh.
On the dealership's own site. And the dealer sent me the chat. I have it. So it's not a tall tale.
Wow.
So this can happen. That said, we're using ChatGTP and experimenting to serve our operator the best answer. Right now, we have all these A/B split tested answers, but there might be 5 answers for, I want the most for my trade, or I have tough credit, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the operator's choosing. We think that AI can help them choose and only offer them the best answer to send out based on results, and eventually maybe not need an operator, or say, this is a bot. Click here if you want a live person at any time.
Boy,
So-
I mean, I guess you definitely need to instruct the AI to not tell the customer to sue the dealership. Like, that's a crazy story.
And I have it. If anyone wants to see that chat,
Wow.
I can provide it.
You also mentioned, that AI, because AI can definitely spit out anything that it's able to consume. And so, like, it makes sense. Like, if I wanted to know every single feature on a GMC truck at a certain trim level, AI is probably going to be better than anybody, because it can memorize what all of that means. And it can tell you the torque and all the other statistics. But you're right. Is it going to ask for your phone number? Is it going to, is it going to get your contact information?
Well, here's another question. Would you want your receptionist that answers the phone in your dealership knowing and explaining all of that?
I don't know. I sold GMC trucks and I had trouble doing it, but
Right, but most people
There's
wouldn't want the
there's a lot
operator
there.
getting into lease payments, into credit conversations, or into product descriptions.
Yeah.
They want them talking to the expert, and that's what we do.
yeah,
It's not up to the chat to sell the car,
yeah.
in my opinion.
Yep. That's it's interesting. AI. It seems like it's definitely changing our industry, and maybe it will be there someday, but I don't know that it is, because it seems like it can do a lot of things, but it can't do everything.
It probably will be there.
Yeah.
Just not there today. It might be a month. I don't know.
Yeah, could be tomorrow.
Yes.
We just don't know it yet.
Yes.
Because we've been in the studio.
That's right.
Well, Jeff, is there anything more you'd like to share with our audience today before we go?
When I was a dealer,
Mm-hmm.
I used to get frustrated by vendors that never sold a car telling me how to run my business. I'd get very frustrated, say, with my trader rep or whatever, and I would have a complaint about response from an ad or too expensive of an ad package, and then all of a sudden I'd get the save a deal rebuttal of all of the calls that were not answering to this 1-800 number that's been going on for months, except it never came up until I was an upset or disgruntled dealer or getting ready to cancel or change packages. The owners at CarChat24, my owners, are 24 years retail, 18 years retail. I was 28 years retail.
Yeah.
I worked in a couple of the largest stores in the country. But when you explain to me what you want, I actually understand what you want and can translate it. We're not like software people trying to learn the car business. Mm-hmm. We're car people that are trying to learn the software business.
Hey.
Really, with our developers. Yeah.
Thank you for coming in, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for taking the time to join us for this AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest has been Jeff Stearns from CarChat24. We hope to see you again on a future episode. This one's Over the Curb and Burning Gas.